Beautiful and lovely gamers, my name is Jonal. Today we are breaking down Paris, the new map here in Overwatch. Unfortunately, my coaching software, Banana, has still not managed to get a update out that gives us this map, so we can't do a top point of view. I'll be running around here as Widowmaker to kind of represent the different ways that we can push and how this map is built up, so you guys are ready for it when it comes competitively, or if you guys are a scrim team, hopefully this will give you a little bit of insight. Now, right before we start, as always, in our Discord server, which is linked in the description, there's a hashtag Q&A chat where you guys can ask questions for the Q&A video that's coming soon, since we hit 10,000 subscribers. Thank you so much as always for the support, but I don't want to talk too much about that since I really want to get into this. Now, this is a very interesting map, especially since of how long some of the LOS sites are, how wide it sometimes is. So as an attacker, you have to push through this one-dimensional choke here. There are some fun line of sight that you can get with stuff like Widowmaker, but it's also, again, very risky, right? So there's all of these kind of windows here where you can kind of try to scope and kind of get a little bit of some of these more difficult shots. Logically, you can hook shot off buildings here, right? Gets off there. I expect that that's this, and a spot up there is most likely going to be some pretty common Widow spots that we will most likely start seeing a little bit, right? As that side there. And of course, there's also this little thing over here where you can fly over with stuff like Pharah and so on. You can also, of course, grappling shot over, and you can also slide over if you want to, if you're so ballsy. Now, what I believe that would happen during pushes like here is most likely that you'll be coming down one of the side, most likely left, and just try to get close here to this wall here, where you could then try to do a rotation over, you know, on this side. This gives you a lot of control, as you can either take here with, for example, death ball or whatnot, depending of course on what the enemy team is running. You need to vary where you're pushing and what team composition you're running. But for example, you can set up here with shields and so on and try to kind of fight and so on, right? As you have this high ground control, which works kind of as like the central hub of this map, giving you access to a lot of the areas for a lot of heroes. You can continue to rotate under here, continuing the cover of these areas here, right? Which gives you again access very easily to the objective, which is right in here. This is where the objective is gonna be. So you can go straight onto the point. You can continue rotation through this building, and you can even rotate, which I like, which I kind of find funny, especially for Widowmakers. And I really hope I see something cool in the Overwatch League on this map, where they can do something like this, jump here, and then there's like an extra angle there, right? Especially if the enemy team is gonna play left side. Logically, when rotating on this right side, you can also go right? So you go here, and then you just continue to push here and so on. But as you can see, it's a quite long rotation that's always quite open, as there's a couple of holes here, right? Opens you up there. It's one way to force it, but I kind of see that this is a very, very long rotation to get control of this building, which is not really, as I can understand right now, worth that much, as it's just a straight axe to the point. You can, of course, go from the high ground, but I personally don't feel that this is too much of a problem. I believe that there might be a lot of Widowmakers played in this map, just because of how you can see how wide it is. As a defender, you can do stuff like a Widowmaker. One of the cool things I actually found out was there's actually a sitting position up here, which is kind of fun. It doesn't really grant you that many cool line of sight. I just found it to be a little bit of a kind of funny thing that you can do. You can, of course, grab and hook over here and so on. But what I do really like about this position is how much line of sight you get. So if they don't push the right side, their left side, you get a lot of LOS down into this choke, right? There's a shot there, another shot here. There's also a shot if you come down here. There's a shot right here, and so on, right? There's a shot here. And this kind of gives you, an easy way to a certain extent maybe try to outdo a potential attacking Widowmaker. And I do believe that Widowmaker is one of those heroes that might be not a must, but a very good one. One, because of, again, the insane line of sight. Diving a Widowmaker here is gonna be quite difficult, right? If you try to go on the rocks and dive with a monkey, you can with ease just do a rotation over here and so on, but still keeping your cover and still keeping a really good position. So I can see how this can be. On top of that, you don't always want to give a Pharah an opportunity to just fly freely here. So having some form of hit scan player, that like her here or an Ashe, for example, do kind of like what G Pantheon did in Hollywood, play maybe Ashe and Pharah. As you can see, doing rotations, as I talked about the attackers, right? You have to move through one choke. Then there's this kind of area here where you'll be resting, which is really easily spammed by a Pharah. Then there's a door out here, or the door out here, which either is another spam choke there, another spam choke there, or move around behind, right? Most of these chokes here are very easily used, so I would not be surprised as well to see Pharah played a lot, especially on defense. Maybe with an maybe with a defensive Widowmaker to kind of cover her and kind of keep keep some of the enemy Ferras off guard. On top of that, if they are decide to station themselves inside a police, there's actually a grapple hook shot right here. No, sorry, I think it's here, which you can practice. I think, let me see, I found this. There we go, right? Which allows you to kind of snipe inside a police, and kind of gives you that extra little angle if there's like a support in there or whatever, if you play Widowmaker. So there's a lot of really good grappling hook shots where you can do, if you have the accuracy, of course, to follow up, right? And so on this first one here. So I think that's really, I think this right side here, which is going to be left for the attackers, are going to be a very like dominate position to have, including this hub over here. So playing close, and you can I believe that on defense, what I would like to see first, or at least what I would try in scrims and so on, is try to play dive here with like a Widow Pharaoh, maybe a Widow Ashe, Watch G, Pantheon's match on Hollywood, where Kefri plays what's it called, Ashe, and Water plays Pharah, and they actually absolutely dominate. Do a very similar thing there by choking out some of these choke points and just spamming and so on. Right, and as an attacker, there's a lot of rotations you can do. I think the dive on defense is something that can be very, very viable, or maybe an Orisa poke comp. While on attack, I believe that both dive comp and the death ball can be actually working pretty well. So I think that this is, again, a very interesting map. Let's move over here to the second point, which is definitely very, very weird. And I still, without having to test this in scrims, which I haven't been able to do, this is kind of where I start to be a little bit confused. It's a very defensive heavy map, as every single side that you try to push on gives the high ground to the enemy team and kind of pushes you through these kind of chokes with at least 2 angles, right? There's one there, one there. If you go straight through main, you can get shot from, you know, you'll have to walk up these stairs, get shot from there. And then there's these stairs here, right? Both of these kind of trapping you there. And then if you try to rotate left side, right, you come through here. There's a shot there. Main, right side, right? And I think this one is far more one of the more open ones, which I think will be the more easiest one to kind of try to run through, just because you can, as I said, you can move through the gate, and the left side here to kind of rotate onto this right side, either through the gate or by moving, you know, outside of this map where there's also some mega pack, right? Which is that, again, Widowmakers might actually be pretty good. What I think is very, very important when you're defending on this part of the map, which kind of like, as an attacker, you get a lot of opportunities here on angles, because since the map is so wide, it can be very difficult. Again, if you are standing here, right, if they're coming left side, it's a very long rotation to left. If they're going right side, it's a very long rotation to right. And therefore, it can be actually very difficult to, if you rotate the wrong way, to stop. Again, if you're kind of always sticking together and trying to fight together, it can actually be quite difficult to do if you're going the wrong way or trying to defend the wrong side. And by standing in the middle and kind of like waiting until you spot them, especially if you're playing very far backwards, that is punishable by the fact that they're going to be able to claim most of this space here. So what I think is very important is, again, having stuff like Widowmaker, maybe a Tracer or something similar, to actually scout out here as on the defensive side, to kind of scout out where the enemy team is going, right? Kind of knowing where they're coming from, maybe a Hanzo or something similar, trying to kind of get a kind of like a nice like gist about where they're trying to push. Maybe defending this kind of main area right here, where you kind of can see where they're coming from, and then trying to do a rotation properly. Lucio might be involved in this if you're running death balls, or goats, of course, can be a potential very nice defense, as if you try to rotate here, you'll be caught in a lot of these closer areas where we have high ground and you can rush. And personally, as I said, I think that Widowmaker can continuously actually work really nice here, as there are quite a lot of angles, both as an attacker and as a defender, to kind of manage to try to have. And because, again, the huge line outside, right, if they're rotating right side, you can stay very far back, right? Tracers, Widowmakers, and so on can work really great on this map. And I would really love to see, again, as I said, some Pharahs. That's really my breakdown of this map. As I said, it's a very linear, standard, right, 2CP, with there's multiple pathing routes. There's kind of these 3 paths you can choose from, but because the distance around the map, it's such a large map in the length, it becomes very, very weird to try to, especially as a defender here on the second. Well, the first one is far more linear, as we would expect. You kind of find like the central hubs, and so on, that you can kind of play on. There's a nice rotation here for the defenders, where they can challenge the central hub, but at the same time we can keep our distance. And that's very almost like expected to see. Meanwhile, when you see here on the second point, as an attacker, it's very much like, you know, these kind of, yeah, sure, to get the defender's advantage here and so on, but it's such a large line of sight in between the different areas, including this huge open area for the point. So I'm going to be very interested to see here. I expect that Widowmakers and Pharaohs are going to be played frequently. Tracers as well, probably. Dive comp, I can't wait to see some well executed dive comps and so on. And in general, I'm very excited for this map. I think it's a really cool map. And would like to hear your opinion down in that comment section below, as this is a quick kind of my first impressions after seeing this map. I kind of ran through it once and made this video. So I hope I see you guys in another video. Please, guys, as always, take care of yourselves, stay positive. I love you guys very much. My name is Jonal, and keep telling me in your crosshair.